2. Conquered by its new ruler, the Tove Woodlands were filled with silence, because every living thing held its breath, frightened by the new king. But this one place was different. The sounds of trees being felled and then transported filled the area. Heavy iron machines, golems reminiscent of heavy machinery, carried the trees to an area of huge wooden buildings under construction. The structures seemed far from completion. The site was quite big, but there were surprisingly few buildings actually standing. Working there were golems and undead. Most of the undead were elder liches wearing eye-catching crimson robes. Each of them had a 9-inch demon, a brown-skinned imp with bat wings, perched on one shoulder. They held their pointed poison tails up to keep them out of the elder lich's way. One of the working elder liches unrolled a piece of paper and gave orders to a golem in transit. The golem stopped as ordered, and the lich looked back and forth between the part it had been building and the paper, cocking its head. Eventually it spoke to the imp on its shoulder. After listening to what the elder lich had to say, the imp expressed its understanding and flapped up into the sky. Its movements weren't very elegant, but it soared into the air and scanned the site with its goggling eyes. Soon it found the person it was looking for and immediately glided down to meet her. It was one of the great Tomb of Nazaric's guardians of the 6th level, Aura Bellafiora. She was one of the new rulers of this forest. The dark elf girl was using a rolled-up piece of paper in lieu of a megaphone to project her voice. The imp flapped down before her and bowed, and she asked in a familiar way, "Uh-huh. Which team are you from?" "Mistress Aura. I'm C3. "A C, huh? Okay. Is there some kind of problem again?" All the workers in this place had letters from A to E, and each team had their own job and location. Aura recalled that C's were working on the warehouses. Their construction was second furthest along among the different buildings. "There's an issue with the thickness of the wood being used for construction, so if you could spare a moment—" The imp stopped short because a voice started coming from the iron band around Aura's wrist. "It's time!" It was the ditzy voice of a cheerful girl, and when Aura heard it, her expression broke. Her ears drooped, and her face flushed with awkward embarrassment. "Okay, understood, Lady Bubbling Teapot," she responded energetically to the band on her wrist. "It's lunchtime. Let's call it good for this morning." There were almost no monsters working there that required food. Actually, Aura was wearing a ring of sustenance, so she didn't need to eat, drink, or sleep either. But her master had kindly told her, "Make sure you take a proper break." "So sorry, I'm going on break. Could you come back in an hour?" "Understood. Then please excuse me." The imp bowed and then noisily took off. After watching the imp fly back toward the warehouses, Aura stretched her shoulders and looked once again at the band on her wrist, and grinned ear to ear. It had been a reward from her master for a job well done. Of course, as a guardian created by the supreme beings, it was only natural to work for them, for her master, and it would be wrong to charge for her service. It was a matter of course, but she just couldn't refuse when he offered this. "I want to hear Lady Bubbling Teapot talk more." She gently stroked the band. Her caresses may have been even gentler than the ones she gave the magical beasts she controlled. All the voices the item used came from the supreme being who created Aura. Even just hearing it tell her the time sent joy coursing through her entire body. When she heard her little brother, Mare, got a ring of Ainzul Gone, she'd been a little jealous, but now she honestly thought she had gotten the better gift. Her ears sagged, and then she polished the band a bit giddily. She nodded in satisfaction as it sparkled in the sunlight. Then she frowned, puzzled. "I wonder why Lord Ainz limited the ways I can use it." He'd given her several orders, such as, "Don't set an alarm at 7:21 and then 19:19. "Maybe I should ask." I can't do that." Noticing the numbers on the band, she rushed off. She ran to a maid. The 41 maids who worked in the Great Tomb of Nazarick were grotesques, homunculi, but on the outside they looked like beautiful women. This one, however, was different. Her head was a dog's, and a line like a scar ran down the middle of her face, along with marks that looked like the remains of stitches. It was as if her head had been split right in half and sewn, though it seemed impossible, back together. Her name was Pestonia S. Puppydog. She was the head of Nazarick's maids and a high-level priest. "As you requested, I've brought you a hamburger. On the side you have pickles and fries, with the skins on. And for your beverage, cola. Woof." During the brief pause before the woof, Aura had a hunch she'd forgotten her signature noise, but she didn't say anything. The drool-worthy aroma was making her too hungry. Even though her ring rendered eating unnecessary, it wasn't like she couldn't, and eating made her happy, especially something that tickled her nose with such a tasty aroma. "The total effects of your meal are... I'm okay. I don't need to hear that. I didn't order it for the ability boosts." "Understood. Woof." Pestonia went to the food cart that was emanating delicious smells at her side. "Lunch, lunch." Listening to Aura's food song, Pestonia lifted the cover of a silver tray. "Oh!" Eyes glued on her meal, Aura mentioned something she remembered. "A7 ground beef isn't bad, but I like a mix of beef and pork better. I wonder if you could make 3 patty burgers of that." "I'll tell the chef. Woof." "Great, thanks." Aura grabbed the tray and walked off with a smile on her face.